Something completely different that also came up a number of times was what we at Maddie's Fund now call access to care. So what are the kind of things that, what do you do for people who either can't afford care or for people who don't know how to get care? And since we have two vets, I forgot to mention Mike is also a vet on the panel. I'll let them speak a little to this.
Access to veterinary care is an issue that I'm sure how many of you have concerns about people in your community getting access to veterinary care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really emerging or pre-existing concern for a lot of us, and there are certainly tools out there and things on the horizon, but I think historically us in the animal welfare industry, we're the ones who've been kind of the only people thinking about this issue, and most of our access to veterinary care programs are really in shelters, and if it's not there, it's really hard to find them. A couple things to talk about. How many of you have taken advantage of the Banfield Foundation grants related to veterinary care? We have a couple of you in the audience. That's great. Go to their website, check it out, but they do have grants that provide access to veterinary care. There's probably other organizations as well that will give your shelter a grant so that you can provide access to the underserved. How many of you have heard about an organization called Waggle? Waggle is, nobody's heard of Waggle.
Wow.
Waggle, and that's because Waggle is a pretty new organization, but they are working on I'm sure many of you do crowd fundraising for pets in your shelter, as well as pets that you're trying to keep out of your shelter. Waggle is something for you to keep an eye on. We have a grant out to them. They started as crowd fundraising in association with veterinarians. So the veterinarian, someone goes to the veterinarian, they can't afford the care for their pet, and the veterinarian applies for Waggle, and Waggle does all the social media and advertising and that type of thing to tell the pet story and to do public crowd fundraising. And there's also a shelter arm that's being tested for that as well. So keep an eye out for that. Mike, do you have anything else to add?
Waggle was the, that was in terms of a new technology, that was the big one. So definitely worth keeping an eye on that website for sure.
There's also there are also companies that are providing access to veterinarian advice, like talking to a veterinarian remotely, where you don't have to go and pay for a whole visit. Pet Coach is one, and I think they have a free option where you can talk to a veterinarian one time for free or something like that, and they're actually owned now by Petco. There's Vets Plus More. And these could become useful because they might just help people answer quick questions about whether they even need to take their pet into the vet or not. So this is sort of telemedicine. Or for $5, in some of the cases, you can talk to a vet for 15 minutes, and you can video chat with a vet on Skype, that sort of a thing. So we'll have that in our list of technologies as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad that David brought up the telemedicine options. I think something to be aware of. I don't know how many other veterinarians might be in the room, and I don't say this to offend anybody, but as a sort of member of the profession, we really drag our feet in terms of taking on new technology very often. And I bring that up because you might hear from veterinarians that you talk to that, oh no, you can't do anything without an animal being in front of you. I can't even tell you if it's a dog or a cat without seeing it, laying on of hands. It's not true.